Welcome everyone to the very first episode of the Road to ECS with Mustafa, that's the bald guy with beard, with Valdek, that's the gray-haired guy with glasses, and myself, Adis Hugo. Hello Mustafa and hello Valdek.
Hey, Adis. Hey, folks.
Today, this is going to be our first inaugural episode of the Road to ECS, and of course, we have just published the content for 2025, the last week, basically. And we have the people who are among the most responsible for having this content. It's for one side, my partner in crime and co-organizer, Mustafa. And Valdek is basically somebody, we have just in the preparation for this webinar, we were talking about people in behind. So Valdek is for years now a person in behind when we talk some things about TCS. So he's a friend of a conference, he's a family member, and he's a co-host of this podcast. And with Lee and Vesku, we have two people directly in charge in the program for European AI and Cloud Summit. Hello, Lee Stott.
Hi, everyone.
And Mr. Legend himself, Vesa Juvonen, for the European Collaboration Summit.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thanks, Adis.
So, right. Valdek, why are we here?
First thing first. Yeah, exactly. Right. So apparently all roads lead to ECS, right? And there you go. Right. So first things first, like we know folks might have heard about the event and you might have gotten, a bit of the history, where it came from as far as on, but let's kind of recap that in very, very short because we don't have that much time. But also another thing, why another event, Adis?
Why do you mean why another event?
Yes, so two things. Where are we coming from and why another one more event across all the plethora events?
This is really easy and cool story.
This is the event.
This is the
other ones are the other events.
This is the event. 2012 April. My two friends and colleagues and more than friends, Tony Frankola and Nenad Rajkovski, the names who are very known in the Microsoft community in Europe, and me were sitting in a bar for a few hours. At some point of time, Nenad came to idea, let's make a conference. That's now 12 years later, we've got event with 3,000 people from all over Europe, having a lot of fun. So the first idea, credits for the first idea definitely goes to Nenad. We hosted the first few editions from 2012 to 2017 in Zagreb, in the Croatian capital. In the beginning, still under name SPC Adriatics, which was basically the short for SharePoint and Project Conference Adriatics. Because Nenad is the project guy, he loved the project. Antonio and me were decided to ruin our lives with SharePoint, so we were SharePoint guys there in this part. And at some point of time, 2017, it was clear that that kind of that focus was getting too one-sided for us. And the things that are happening. I mean, SharePoint development basically became Azure development, if we are true. So you need to host stuff on Azure. There were many other segments within the Microsoft 365 than only SharePoint or project. So this is where we changed the name to European Collaboration Summit in 2017. That was also the very last year that we held in Zagreb. And very soon after that, we came to idea that we actually need to give more space to all the development, infrastructure, business, and government topics within European Cloud Summit, which very soon changed the name to European AI and Cloud Summit to accommodate to everything what is going on. The first edition of that one was supposed to happen in 2020, but you didn't. We know all the reasons. But Valdek, if I remember, you have been with us for the first time 2016 or 17. What was the year?
Possibly, I don't know. I'm very bad with dates. I know that my first one was the last time we were in Croatia. I think
that should be in 2017 then.
There you go.
Yeah. And you are with us, some poses and stuff since then. And it's not without reason that I asked you to join as a co-host for this webinar. What does ECS means for you?
Well, so that's an interesting part, right? Because there's a bunch of events across the world, right? And in theory, they are all the same. You go to a place, you learn from experts, either folks who work at Microsoft, who are on product groups and build the products, or folks who implement things in practice and kind of bring their real life experience. And you learn kind of from both from two sides. ECS is that. But ECS is also more. Like as you say, it's for me personally, I've been around for a while. Right? Like I've been out at Microsoft for a bit over 4 years. Before that, I've been an MVP for 12 and a half years. I've been around in this community for a little bit, and to me, that means like a reunion. I get to see people whom I've known for a long time, many of whom I call friends, right? So for me, the learning aspect is one, and there's always something to learn, right? Like there's no such thing as you know it all. No way, impossible. Things just change too often. But the more importantly, building the relationships, seeing folks whom I trust, who I call friends. So that is really for me a big aspect that, and also a reason to be a part of it that I don't get to experience anywhere else.
Yeah, talking about being friends. Two of us know each other since 2011. Now, when you just think of that, it's 13 years now. It's if you think of that, it's almost a bit less than 1/3 of my life that I've known you. Now you just tell me if that changed my life to better or to worse. That's a completely different topic.
Leave that thing aside. But yeah, that's a great thing. But there's also this other side where if you attend event, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you do it at a regular pace, like you will start seeing kind of the same folks time and again, because like people, if they enjoy an event, they tend to stick. They tend to come back because it's a great experience, right? But another thing that is also great is meeting new folks, because every single time you meet somebody, like for every person there will be few folks whom you don't know and who you get to meet and talk to them about, their journey, their experience. And that kind of brings me to an interesting thing that I'd love to hear actually your all opinion on, right?
I can only second you on that one. Sure. I first met Lee last year, and I thought, my God, why cannot Valdek and Vesa be like him?
Well, some things you can change, some things you don't, right? So you can have it all.
Support that statement. I completely support that statement.
There you go. We can put two of them on mute, right? And just have it. Okay, cool.
So check the post, please.
Anyway, so the one thing that I wanted to ask you all is, like there are typically when there's event, there's the guide for attendees, there's some kind of program and all that, but I find that there's one thing that people don't really often talk about, and I'd like to ask you, put you on a spot. I know you haven't prepped any of that, which is perfectly fine. Top of mind, what would be your tip for every attendee? Imagine your first time, or you've been so many times at it, irrelevant. How can you get the most out of the ECS event? Imagine you get there, maybe 1 week until event, to you get at the venue, to you leave and past it. How can you get the most out of that experience? Eddie's left. He had such a great idea. He left.
I can start.
Perfect.
My tip for that would be talk to everyone, meet people, exchange experience. This is the amazing place to do that, because I'm very proud of that we kind of grew in number, but we still have that community spirit, and people are approachable. Everyone, speakers, attendees, sponsors, everyone will talk to you. So go talk to people, network, learn things, exchange experiences. That is my number one tip for being at the DCS event.
Cool. Lee, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting one. So for me, because I focus on the AI aspects, AI aspects now support pretty much every single persona that's out there, so we've got developers, engineers, IT admins, operations, compliance, technical decision makers. So we're now starting to cater for much more than just the developer. Not everybody is a developer, but developers control the application that comes out of it. So for me, it's about understanding all the different scenarios and features, and for developers to meet these different personas and personas to meet developers. So I think it's really about how organizations can grow, how organizations can adopt technology and learn best practices, but then more importantly, listen and share their experiences. So like the discussion panels and the theatre sessions and the workshops, there's so much variety in what people can engage with and learn.
Lee, when we always speak about this, I'm really interested because you first joined us for the last edition of 2023. For this edition, you were in the content team together with few other for the AI and Cloud Summit, together with Kimo, with Damir, with Barbara, with Mustafa, with Ahmad, with all the people there. What's your opinion? How did the content evolve within those 12 months, which are like basically the next editions? Because when we see the technology evolving in the past 12 months, I feel like
Yeah.
like early 90s again, like the things are rapidly changing. I don't know if you guys get that same feeling. It really
gosh,
is.
Make the answer to that a bit more challenging. You are not allowed to mention AI. You can use any other word to talk about it. You are not allowed to use the letters AI or the words AI.
So, I think for me, it's been really interesting how we've changed the summit to be AI focused. Sorry, because now it's called Cloud and AI, so I have to say it.
It's actually called
It's
AI and cloud.
So, we had to use the terminology. But, I think the key thing is now is technology is no longer that annual release cycle. If you look back 3 years ago, we were, from a Microsoft perspective, it was Ignite, Build as our big releases. Now it's like literally every 3 weeks, something new is coming to market. So number one, it's the opportunity. And again, Waldeck said it when he started, is no one is an expert. If someone says to you they're an expert, they're either like this and they're so focused on that specific element, that's all they know, and they don't know anything else. So you'll have a very short conversation, or you might have a very deep conversation if you're an expert in that field as well. But it's really about, for me, it's about how developers can, get into that flow of building the solution. So we've got amazing tool sets now. We've got, Copilot, God, everything's AI. Sorry, Waldo. We've got things like Copilot, which is helping developers. We've got new platforms and tools and models becoming available all the time. So, it's really allowing people to move much more quickly at that proof of concept MVP, which then feeds into the opportunity of startups and new companies and people having sidelines or moonlighting projects to build and create stuff. And then also looking at where the models are going. There's new models now and there's new technologies like RAG and fine tuning, which allow you to either, shrink a model and make it very specific, or to add extra data to that model to make it more understanding of what you're trying to do. So I think for me, it's really about how we're trying to tell that story of all these different types of technology. So things like the model catalogs, things like app templates and solution samples that people can use to rapidly accelerate their development. And then all those third-party solutions that are out there, which are now using this technology. So you might be a Microsoft partner, or you might be thinking of becoming a Microsoft partner. And what does these new technologies allow you to quickly do? So for me, it's that opportunity of telling that story across the different types of personas and the different types of technology verticals.
Yeah,
and
if I elaborate a bit on that, so I'm coming back on everything is computer intelligence. Now, see, no, that word we cannot say that. But it's basically, it doesn't matter in which of those conferences. There's 3 conferences this spring where you are, but everything is based on this idea where the computers are smarter and they're helping us. They are called agents, and we can empower us to be more efficient. And coming back on what Lee was saying, it's the developers, but also the developers, that networking aspect. Which coming back on the previous question as well, is incredibly important. Where do the developers get the ideas where they can provide business value? Well, from the business decision makers and end users. So it's not like the developer will be sitting by the developers be like, hey, I have this great idea. Typically, you need those really brilliant ideas come from a business gap or a business requirement. And that requires that networking between the attendees. And that's the expo area, that's the networking locations within the conferences, which are always really well done, regardless whatever conference we call this year, this conference collaboration summit, plus the 2 other summits. But we are all in the same location. And something which is really wonderful to see is that all of these technologies are getting more mixed together. So it's not an isolation. You use whatever Lee represents, the computer intelligence, is absolutely available in Power Platform, and it's absolutely available in business apps, and it's absolutely available in Microsoft 365. It's all fluently getting mixed as the ecosystems are getting more how would I put it? Mixed together.
May I ask you this very same thing that I was talking to Lee now, but just to span it a bit over the years, because talking about friends and family, Vesco is with us since 2016, and we had different content team meetings in Slovenia, 2 times in Bingen, in London. Where have we have been meeting all over the Europe, basically, to do the content for the ECS. But if we remember well, and we do, that one of the first applications actually utilizing AI and nobody realizing it back in time was SharePoint, with the whole Sintel story and everything that was going on around there. And I remember the first sessions about that we have been having them about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, like 5 years ago. Since you have been involved from the beginnings, how do you see involvement of the computer intelligence story on Microsoft 365, not only for developers but also for developers, of course? But if you remember, Sintel was not for developers. That was literally applied computer intelligence for business users.
True. And so looking back on the historical thing, I think the where the conference came from, as you said, was a SharePoint and Power project and Adriatics. So SharePoint was the leading product at the time, and it's still actually a fundamental product in a lot of these things, because all of the files and news and articles and intranets are getting still built all around the world, no doubt. But then at the same time, it's kind of the whole system kind of fragmented to be multiple products and multiple things, which is good, because then we have innovation across all of the different areas as an isolation. So it's not just under one umbrella. We have Viva Engage, we have Viva Connection, we have as computer intelligence side of the house from Azure, Azure Open, all of that stuff, which is available for us to use, and then mixing that across all of the end user capabilities. Lee is like, we have to use the right term. Legal requires us to use the right term.
Is this computer intelligence like is this going to become a thing in this call?
No,
it already did.
But it's the much more broader reach for end user perspective and the business value perspective from a company and an audience perspective. The conference has really grew from that past of being about one product, of being a multiple set of products, really driving the innovation across industries, which is really cool.
Mustafa, you had to herd the cattle for the 3 different conferences, for the 3 different content team meetings. Okay, one of them was online, because interestingly, for the European BizApp Summit, the most of the content team is across the pond. How did that happen to us? It's another story, but it did happen
in
to
Austria?
us. So, yeah.
The other pond.
Austria or Australia, or is it the same?
The same.
It's the same. But can you, because Mustafa is from our side, somebody who is really main responsible for content and how it looks like, and who has a big picture over all 3 conferences, what's going on, because we share a lot of speakers among the conferences. I mean, there are a few speakers who we want to have at all 3 conferences, if possible, with 5 sessions each. They're that good, but of course we didn't do that. I mean, that wouldn't work. But Mustafa, let's close shortly this call, because we promised ourselves it's going to be 15-20 minutes. We are not going to go to people's nerves. Vesa is laughing.
Famous last words.
Yes, we always know it's going to be short, and it never is. But yeah, we kind of like there's a third event this year, BizApp Summit introduced, because essentially we saw that side of the collaboration, because it was part of the collaboration summit story. It kind of grew too much. It was already like 40% of the event as it is. And we said, okay, this is the time, like we need to have a separate event for this one as well. So we introduced Cloud Summit first, now AI and Cloud Summit. Then
Computer Intelligence and Cloud Summit.
No. Please, like I will not have anything to do with it. I refuse.
Valdek, this is all your fault.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
On that note, like let me do one more thing. Let me put you all on a spot. One more thing. So we talked about like how attendees can get, because like people when they come to ECS, they will learn a lot. Like you just mentioned a bunch of things, spanning all the way from SharePoint to machine learning, advanced stuff, all the way across the scope, right? But they also have the chance to talk to others, share stories, like bring their experience. Talking to others, meeting others is hard. Like it's really hard to just, come to someone you don't know and start talking. Like some people, they do it very easily, naturally. For others, that's like the second scariest thing out there. Starting with you all, what is the one thing, like imagine there's an attendee and they see you. What is it one thing that you would like an attendee whom you've never met to ask you? We start with Vesa. One question they could ask you to kind of like break the ice.
Absolutely. How can I get more closely involved with the community? Communities worldwide. So.
Excellent. Lee, what about you? One thing folks can ask you.
So I think the number one is, what's this lunch queue for? Because that breaks the ice. So I think that's the most important thing. It's that icebreaker. So just saying hi to someone, I think is the key thing. Is everyone is there to learn new things. I love seeing this in workshops where one of the things I always try and do is like get people to work with the person next to them, because you can guarantee they never know them. But yeah, just the icebreaker is key. And I think once you've done the icebreaker, that's when discussions will flow.
Yeah.
So it's just say hi.
Okay.
If you're in the coffee queue, if you're in the queue for registration or picking up your badge, just say hi.
Okay, cool. Addis, what they can ask you? When is the lunch?
That's what they always ask me.
That's close.
Yeah, that was really close. What can they ask me? If I want $1 million? No. They can ask me. Actually, the thing is, I'm having trouble answering because Vesa took my answer. He is completely right.
You have another answer, perfectly fine.
He's completely right. How can I get more involved with the community? Because you have large events like ECS with 3,000 people, but we have like call-up days all over the Europe with great events, which span from 100 to 400 people, which is awesome. And we see now like Germany having 3 of them at the moment, only Germany. And let's now speak about the awesome ones in Amsterdam, actually in Utrecht, to be honest, in Brussels, in I don't know, 2 in England. We have 1 in London and 1 in Bletchley Park, Portugal, Croatia, Hungary, Norway. I'm starting to Switzerland. I'm starting to forget all over the place. So this is why, in my opinion, Vesku's answer is actually the right one.
And we have a lot of online opportunities as well. So it's not like everybody has to be always in person, but it's a combination. Depending on the role and opportunities, there's always things to.
But there is that something actually being in person with the community.
100%.
Actually,
absolutely.
Exchanging knowledge, exchanging ideas, exchanging beers, whatever, all good.
Yeah. Mustafa, what is the one thing that folks can ask you? Or
do you want to answer?
Yes. What should people ask you?
I never actually gave it a good thought about this, because I'm kind of, as an organizer, people are approaching me all the time and asking when is the lunch and stuff like that. But it's not really a joke. But as an organizer, I kind of like, I'm running from one part of the venue to another all the time, constantly like trying to deal like with stuff. So the answer is like, what I would really like to hear is like, do you want a hug at some point?
That's good. That was really good.
Yeah. There you know. If
exactly.
you happen to listen to this episode of The Road to ECS, give Mustafa a hug. Keep in mind, and you get to be at ECS or Cloud Summit or European BizApp Summit, I guess.
Yes.
Is that the
Yes.
And you see this guy, give him a hug.
Now I'm giving all of you a hug. And Valdek, Mustafa, we are going to soon announce our next guest. in the next days. And this episode, I think this is Wednesdays we are recording it. I hope it's going to go out on Fridays, because we had this discussion. I chose, I think Friday is the best because we intend this to be lighthearted, to be part of fun. So it's a good Friday content. Now the meal is coming for my kids, and I need to go. Mustafa, you kind of a switch off. I really need to answer. This is food, and I have two hungry kids up there.
That is delegating in practice.
Yes.
Yes. Priorities, like priorities.
We were
Like
supposed to be 15 to 25 minutes, or 20 minutes, and we messed up Addis's planning, which is something we never do.
Yeah, who cares? Addis messes our plans all the time, so we get at least one back. Yeah, so as Addis said, hopefully this will be out on Friday, and very soon we'll be announcing our next guest and announcing new stuff coming to ECS in May.
Correct, because we will be on the road to ECS until May, correct?
Correct.
All right, folks. Thank you all. See ya.
Thank you,
Thanks, everybody. See you at ECS. Cheers.
Bye-bye.